All right, today we're going to be building a tubed winch bumper for a 2002 4Runner. So far, I got these brackets cut off. They're just what the factory bumper bolts to. I think my course of action is going to be using these two bolts from the factory tow hooks. And I saw online someone drilled out this other side of the frame rail and they ran a 1/2-inch bolt through it. So I think I'm going to kind of copy that design and kind of use that as my foundation mounting point for the winch bumper. I'm going to start taking some measurements, get it inserted on CAD, and see what I can come up with. I think I got it drawn up on Fusion 360. Probably one of the most complicated pieces I've had to make so far. But so essentially, you got your bottom two bolt holes for your factory tow point. This is the bottom side of the frame. I'm going to bend it along this. Going to weld the rectangular tube to this, bend this down to the so it's kind of the top of the frame, so that I can go straight through the frame. And the straight through should be this one, I think. And then if I bend this line, it should perfectly butt these edges up together at a 90 degree. So I'll have to weld that, weld the seam of the gusset on this plate, and then weld this guy in. And I think if everything is going the way it should be, I think it should work. So we're gonna get to cutting it out and see what it does. Got everything landed, zeroed out right on the CNC table. So we're gonna start cutting it. I'm using a prime weld cut 60 at 50 amps. I believe 55 inches per minute cut speed. So let's get to it. Here she is. Cut out fairly nice. Ooh, a little hot still. Yeah, gonna kind of scrape it off. I used one of these guys to get some of that slag off and get it bent up. All right, so we got it all bolted up, and surprisingly, it's like pretty much spot on. At least when it comes to the bolt hole locations, I was able to get this top bolt to feed through, and it even looked pretty much centered on that hole. I think I could push it out just a little bit more. Yeah, so with that being said, granted everything's super loose right now, I should have about a 1/4 inch to 3/8 a shifting of the bumper. So obviously stuff's not perfect every time, and some people's frames are slightly tweaked. I mean, we're talking about vehicles made in the early 2000s, right? So now you'll actually get that 1/4 inch of adjustment to be able to center your bumper that much easier. And yeah, just fill the weld here. I mean, weld all of it. But then when the time comes, I throw this on there. I'll have plenty of room once I weld the bracket fully that I can weld the top side of this. Have enough meat on either side. I think that's gonna work out pretty well. I think I'm gonna add some meat up here too. I don't like how thin it is right here. It's just a weak point. If I just pulled this corner out just a little bit, maybe squared it off, be a lot stouter of a bolt. And then eventually I'll tighten everything down and send a hole centered through my bottom. So then this bolt will be able to drop all the way through and sandwich the frame. But for my first shot at that, you guys are gonna think I'm some pro, but definitely just kind of got lucky. All right, so it's technically day 3 of building the 3rd gen 4Runner bumper. I decided to get back onto CAD. I got this cut out yesterday. By all means, everything works, but there's just a couple things I wanted to improve on. I don't like how big of a gap I have here. I feel like I can close that up along with like pretty much every bending opening. I feel like I can make that a little bit tighter just so it's a little bit easier to weld. I wanted to add some more meat onto this guy. So yeah, so I got on the CAD, and my fix for that is this. So right here, I added a little bit of a bump out to hopefully kind of correct for that extra gap there. And then all my folding cut opens, I guess, they were what, 0.2 of an inch, and I shrank them down to I think like 1.25 or something, 0.025. I don't know, made them smaller. So we're gonna fire up the Crossfire Pro, and we're gonna get this new piece cut out, and if it worked correctly, I'll have to pretty much make another one of these, but I'll just copy and paste this, flip it upside down to make a mirrored side of this. So I'd have one for the, what is that, driver's side. Got this driver's side cut out and fully welded. I have not drilled the hole through on the bottom yet. I'm gonna do that last. Yeah, but got the winch kind of sitting where I want it to sit. Super good approach angle. It's all kind of taking shape. So now I'm gonna be building something kind of similar to this, but shorter. And I want to run, this is gonna be my main like cross member, I guess, of the bumper. I think I'm gonna run it centered underneath the winch. So therefore, if you try to run it back here, your mounting hole is in the way. So then therefore you'd have to push it forward even more. But I think if I straddle it, I should still be able to maintain that great approach angle and keep it nice and tucked. I went ahead and cut this, I believe it's 2 by 3 by 3/16 rectangular tube. Just kind of threw the winch up on here, just kind of give me an idea. I'll pull it apart, or pull it away just a little bit more than that, but kind of gets tippy, so I was just having it sit there. But I think I'm happy with it so far. I think my next step is going to be figure out the distance off the main kind of tube I want to come off for my main kind of hoop, or my lower hoop per se. And the plan's to go from there, kind of like my other bumpers, kind of have 2 bars coming up to a top tube, and then maybe another tube coming off up the side. So I got the kind of rough idea of the hoop. I bent, I believe they're about 50 degree bends on either side. Got it centered on the 4Runner. I went ahead and marked my cut. I think it's about a 4-inch center line from this to the center of the tube. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those cut and see what it looks like. Cut out, just kind of sitting roughly where I think it needs to be. So far, I mean, it's definitely starting to look more like a bumper, that's for sure. Kind of hard to see in there, but I think that's gonna be about the final distance away from the what is that, front clip. But now I think my next step is going to be take it all off, set it on the welding table, get it all tacked together nice and solid, since this is kind of like a stopping point in a way. Once it's all tacked together, I think we're going to jump on to tackling this main hoop, so then I know the distances between the main hoop and the winch hoop, so I can get all my connecting bars. Alright, after I got it on the welding table and got it tacked together, decided I think I'm going to start on the winch hoop first. So it's going to be a 1/4 inch plate, It's gonna be about 12 inches overall. I think the back mounting hole for the winch is gonna be centered a 1/2 inch off of this tube. So it's gonna hold it super far back, nice and, tight to the vehicle. I was thinking it'd be kind of cool if I could make it so I could bend down the sides, and then the sides are what limit the distance, I guess you could say, from here. So then when I'm making multiple of these bumpers, I can just shove this hoop to the winch plate that's already on there, and that winch hoop would determine the width or the distance between these two, if that makes sense. Just a spacer, essentially. All right, so I might have jumped the gun, and long story short, I'm pretty bad at filming every step of the process. But this is where the bumper's at now. Just been kind of working on it every couple nights here and there. I think we left off with getting this last bar tacked into place. I got my winch plate made up, fold those brackets down, overhangs the back side, but you still have enough room to get a bolt through there. I got these bars made up. I think it's like a 20-degree notch on either end, so it's nice and neat. It was kind of cool. I used a piece of filler wire for my TIG welder to kind of measure the distance in between the two. Now that we are getting ready to tack this top bar on, I'm just making sure the distance is consistent all the way through, just so it's kind of square to the 4Runner, which I think so far this is the best idea I've had, is using these I use them to like mark a square line all the way around the tube. So I got one of those on either end, holding it square, got the center lined all the way up through the winch plate, and with the center of the logo, kind of hard to see. Either way, there'll still be some adjustment when it's bolted up. You'll be able to slide it back and forth, probably a 1/4 inch or so. For the ones that are watching because they want to build their own bumper, this is something I use to help me bend up my top bar. Just kind of cheap thing I built up when I was building my roll cage, and it allows you to kind of visualize something without spending the time and the money on bending the DOM, because that stuff's expensive. So use this guy. Just made up some of these brackets. Kind of clever. I've used it in the roll cage, kind of used it all over now. Luckily though, the top tube for that guy is the same top tube that I use on this bumper. I mean, kind of makes sense. I was going to make my own top bar, but the couple things I could fix, it wasn't worth it wasn't worth redesigning the top hoop for this when I have one with all the measurements and everything laid out perfectly. I'd rather just kind of copy and paste, and I think it fits the front end pretty well. I mean, you can kind of see for yourselves, but I'll take that all day long. Not exactly sure. Grabbing a tape measure here. Looks like we're landing about 3.5 inches to center of the main hoop, which is, honestly, I think the factory bumper, I'm not exactly sure, but factory bumper is all day long, so I want to say it's more compact than the factory one. Yeah, so this is where we're at. Got the top bar bent up, these tacked into place. So now I'm going to tack these guys, make sure it's level this way. Or I guess I'll make sure it's level, and then I'll tack these guys. And then I'm going to work on the side arms. Something similar to that, I think. Not looking forward to those notches. They're going to be terrible. But we'll figure it out. So we got the sides tacked into place. Turned out pretty good. I was worried about these notches, but they actually came out pretty much perfect. Nothing that a MIG can't fix. Along with the bottom guy. Might be a pain to weld that inner seam, but it'll be all right. Got the caps already cut out for those guys, just need to weld them on. But fitment overall, super happy with. So I also got the fairlead cut out, nothing super special, just something that works. So now that we got this, I need to make a fixture for it. So similar to that guy. So I can drop all my pre-cut pieces into it and then weld it. So I'm gonna do that before I fully weld this, just so then this one can't warp at all. I think the over, looks like they should all be, about 4 1/4 from outside of the grill, give or take a little bit. But yeah, super happy. Gonna probably get started on the fixture tomorrow and then get to painting. I believe I'm going to paint all behind here with all black. I believe this bracket unbolts, cut this plastic out of the way, and once everything's painted black, it'll look a lot better. All right, so I got it all welded up. I got my fixture made up. Pretty neat how I make these. Just a little bit of angle iron and a bolt with a piece of solid round stock welded to it. But bumpers all made up. It's not, I haven't like set it perfectly side to side or anything like that, since I'll be ripping it off. But it's all welded. Some welds are decent, some aren't. The fixture is kind of a learning curve to weld. You can't weld everything. So you weld part of it, and then you pull it off, weld the rest of it. But this is where we're sitting. So now my next step is going to be rip it off. I'm gonna paint behind here, paint this all flat black. I still have to drill the hole, the bottom of the frame, but I'll get that mounted in its forever spot and then drill. And then hopefully be able to just drop that bolt straight through. But what do you guys think so far? Just because it's, one of my projects, I'm definitely looking at it and going, oh, I could have made that a little bit better, or I could have made some changes, but that's just me. I'm all in all, I'm happy with it. But yeah, let's get it ripped off and get to paint. All right, so got it all painted up. Just got the lights thrown on there, just for the video, just to kind of give you guys an idea how well everything fits. Still no winch, but it fits in there perfectly fine. But yeah, there's the complete bumper for the 3rd gen 4Runner. It will be available on my website here in just a few days. If you guys would like to get yourself one. So far, pretty happy with it. Definitely one of the better bumpers I've built. Really like the way I incorporated that extra bolt that goes all the way through. But tell me what you guys think. Yeah, until next time.